morning, grinders. Welcome to RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD, BlenderHD. If you want to follow me on Twitter. It's Tuesday, January 9th. We'll be taking a look at the NHL 10-game slate tonight. Right, we got some basketball today also. Not as much, but it's typically Tuesdays and Thursdays, especially now with the NFL being in the playoffs. We don't got any weekday NFL games. I guess we got a playoff game on Monday night next week or whatever, but we'll be transitioning to more NHL and NBA talk on the show, as well as MMA coming back later this week. So tune in, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Join the chat. Good morning, OMG, Godlike, and Bart B, and of course we got Dane, Moneyball 16 with our NHL projections in the chat as well, and got Tim Buell here, NHL extraordinaire, the gods of the NHL Discord, which you better join, rotogrinders.com/Discord to get all the news. Are we waiting on any? Are we waiting on any like news today? Because it doesn't seem like it.
Doesn't seem like it to me, unless I'm missing something. But yeah, I don't think there's any like big time, big name news really.
But we did mention before we came on the air, this slate is a doozy. There are several obvious spots, which typically would say, oh, okay, this makes it easy. Like, why would we bother playing like the Islanders for no reason? It's like, no, there are obvious spots. The problem is that you can't play them all. And if you play the wrong one, you're probably going to get killed by the other one. I mean, like, it's going to be one. It seems like, based on these projections, that you're going to go, oh, okay, I'm going to play Toronto, and then Edmonton kills you. Or you're going to go, I'll play Edmonton, and then Nashville kills you. Or then I'm going to go and I'm going to play, Winnipeg. Winnipeg could kill you. I mean, like, it's just like, it's a lot of big mismatches on this slate.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've been trying to put together some lineups. Like, you can't, is there a way to reasonably play? Like, you can't play a Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid lineup. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can. I just don't know if that's like the optimal way to go about it today.
Well, what I'm saying, Tim, is that it's hard to play these studs with line mates and then still play another stud with, like, it's one of those things where, like,
that's not gonna happen.
Right. No. Well, that's the point. It's like you could possibly play one as a one-off, like, but let's talk about these spots. So we're looking at our projections right now. I mean, we have 20 plus median projections for McDavid, for Pasternak, for Austin Matthews. We got high for like Nylander. We got the Nashville guys like Forsberg and Josie at 7K at defense. We got Draisaitl for Edmonton as well. Like, I mean, my natural inclination here is to prioritize just from even just a price perspective, like Edmonton at Chicago. Like, Chicago, I mean, is Chicago a real team?
That's not even a real team now, without Connor Bedard. So, I mean, I'm having a really hard time, like, not just trying to jam in as much Edmonton as I possibly can, as chalky as that might sound. You know,
how much chalky did Tim? How much chalky can it be? Because, I mean, you take a look at Toronto, you take a look at Nashville's value. Like,
true.
Is it going to be the type of thing where, because we take a look here, like, I'm not a big fan of necessarily playing Zach Hyman at 8K. Right? When
I'd agree with you, but just this matchup really kind of, like, you know, alters my thoughts a little bit. I do agree with that in theory, that 8K for Zach Hyman is too much. But you could always go down to Draisaitl at 77 instead and just go McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, and Draisaitl, or go McDavid, RNH, and Bouchard at 6.9, something like that. There's different ways that you can play Edmonton without Hyman. No, but I mean, still, I mean, this is such an amazing spot for Edmonton. They're minus 165 on the puck line. So that means that they're -1.5, -165. They're like 2-goal favorites, which in NHL is pretty unheard of. It's just an amazing spot for Edmonton.
And the thing about Edmonton is that you know who to roster. Like it's not like one of these teams like Carolina or even Calgary or LA or something where they play their lines like fairly evenly. It's like you're not playing the third line, you're not playing the fourth line, you're not playing, it's the common, like, if anything, if maybe you throw in like a Fogel or something like that.
Yeah,
4K, maybe.
you could possibly play line 2 if you're making multiple teams. But yeah, it's definitely those traditional top 5 guys for Edmonton.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you this question that I normally do when it comes to GPPs.
Mm-hmm.
If Edmonton is going to be chalky, because we're going to talk about the other chalky spots also. So I think that would you agree that the highest owned teams, how chalky they'll be is a different discussion, is going to be Edmonton, Toronto, and Nashville.
Yeah, and probably Winnipeg.
Winnipeg to some extent.
Yeah.
But I would put them 4th. I would put Edmonton 1, Toronto 2. I would actually put Edmonton 1, Nashville 2, Toronto 3, only because there's more people to choose from on Toronto. And then Winnipeg 4.
Yeah, and Toronto's more expensive, so that might keep ownership lower.
So here's the question, Tim. One-off, like Connor McDavid one-offs, Zach, like the expensive guy one-offs. One of the things that I don't like doing, especially when we have multiple options, is that, like, for Connor McDavid to kill me by not playing him, he's scoring 30 fantasy points, right?
Correct.
And if he scores 30 fantasy points, like, unless he's the one scoring like 3 goals and it's, defenders getting unassisted stuff or whatever, it's hard for me to see, like, if I'm going to spend up for these guys, like, I'm going to play Ryan. I'm at least going to play like another, at least one. You could sell me on not having to play 3 or 4 Edmonton players, but to play Connor McDavid as a one-off, like, I'm at least going to pair him with like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins at 5,800 or something. I'm going to pair him with even Draisaitl or Bouchard or someone out of the power play 1 unit in general, and playing them as a one-off just seems like, because if he only scores like 20 fantasy points, 18 to 20, that doesn't kill me, but he probably doesn't bring along enough people anyway. I'd rather have another team, because I think there's a difference between Edmonton and Toronto. This is my first year playing hockey, right? Playing NHL. I'm under the impression, correct me if I'm wrong, that it's more likely that Austin Matthews has an outsized score that doesn't bring along other people than Connor McDavid, because Connor McDavid is much more likely to get assists, while Austin Matthews could just sit there and just score 4 goals, and the assist could come from God knows who. And it may be spread out that you don't need anyone, but Austin Matthews could be sitting there with 45 fantasy points.
Yeah, Matthews' shot volume is much higher than McDavid's, so he could get there by himself, whereas McDavid is more of a facilitator and brings along his teammates. So as a one-off, I would rather play Austin Matthews than McDavid.
So let's talk about Toronto.
Yeah.
The value on Toronto is more on line 2, because we could take a look here. We have, if you're a premium member here at RotoGrinders, which you should be, click on that link in the description, get $10 off your first month. You could look at, we have DraftKings stack rankings. So you could you could load this up and see, I typically sort by value, right? And I'm looking for the lines that have a pretty decent average projection and good value. So I want like kind of greens on both of them. And we take a look here, Nylander, Tavares, Bertuzzi, because Bertuzzi is pretty cheap.
He's 3,400.
Right. But the problem is that you're paying for Nylander, you're paying for Tavares, who obviously could be assisting these Matthews goals. It's like once you pay for these three guys, like this would be a lineup that you don't have McDavid or Matthews in.
Mm-hmm.
How scared are you to play Toronto line 2 and not play anyone and play Matthews, McDavid? You're not getting Forsberg in there, right? Maybe you could squeeze Forsberg in a Toronto line 2 lineup, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing that scares the hell out of me with Toronto line 2 is that you're going into the slate without Connor McDavid or Austin Matthews in your lineup.
I know that. I mean, as a single entry player, that's terrifying for me. If I was making like, say, 4 or more lineups, I would definitely throw in a Toronto 2 lineup without McDavid, without Matthews. Maybe add in like a Nashville player or 2. But as a single entry player, I'm definitely going to have one of McDavid or Matthews just because the matchups that they're in are just too good. They're just too good. So it's, for me, Toronto 2 is a great GPP stack, but it's got to be part of a overall portfolio.
So who would you pair if you were going to play 3 Toronto players and you're playing Austin Matthews? I mean, your choices on the power, you have, like, to me, I think I would prefer to play Marner with Matthews because he gets time on the power play one as well as on the first line. Because, for instance, because this is my thought process, Tim, is that I know I'm also going to be up against people that are playing line 2. Like, I want line 2 to fail, but I still want the power play unit to do well enough for Matthews and Marner that it makes more sense that, like, if I'm going to play, like, why play Matthews, Nylander, Tavares? Like, why bother doing that? I mean, obviously, it's very expensive. I don't know what the hell you're doing the rest.
I was going to say that's a super expensive way to go about it.
But I mean, like, I'm looking at if I'm going to play Matthews, I'll play Marner and Riley, right, at 6,300 at defender. Like, do something like that where I'm kind of just avoiding line 2 altogether, and then just hoping that, you know, if line 2, if Nylander, Tavares get involved in power play stuff, you know, maybe there's only sitting there with 12, 15 points, and Marner, Matthews, and Riley all have 20 plus, and I'm fine. It's just that, like, I feel as if people will be playing line 2 on Toronto, so I'd rather just not mix and match, even though, you know, these guys are on the power play units also. Like, I wouldn't play like, if I'm playing Matthews, I'm not playing Matthews with Bertuzzi and Marner. I'm not, like, mixing and matching these guys, even though Bertuzzi is cheap. Like, I'd much rather, because I think Riley may be the odd man out here, because, I mean, for 700 more, you get Josie, and he projects for, like, 5 more points.
Right, yeah.
So you're probably not going to be able to fit that in either. So,
I agree with that. Yeah, go ahead.
And also, if you do that, I know Matthew Nyes is not like, he kind of just does nothing, really.
Yeah, he's the third wheel, big time.
But still, I mean, he projects for 6 points at 3,500. If you're going to play Marner, Matthews, and Riley, and you still need, you're going to have, I'd rather play Nyes at 3,500 in a winger spot than some cheap random defender at 3,500 just from some other team that really has not much upside anyway, only because, well, at least he correlates with, like, I want Matthews to score 40 fantasy points. So, like, Nyes could be sitting there and get, like, just 12, 13 points with an assist, a block, and, you know, a shot on goal type of situation there. That it feels like when you're paying 10.2K for Austin Matthews, you want as many, why not play the cheap nothing guy on his line if you're going to avoid line 2 altogether anyway?
See, I really want to play Nylander, just because he's such a high volume shooter, and he does give you exposure to Matthews on that power play. Like, I wouldn't mind playing a 2-man of Nylander and Matthews, just because those are the guys that are going to be taking the most shots on their respective lines. So their floors are going to be much higher than anyone else's on their entire teams. And like I said, they will play together on the power play. So I get what you're saying. You can avoid line 2 if you want to. But I mean, I really love Nylander in this spot. His price is getting to be like all-time high, but it's worth it in this matchup. And he's going to get the 5-shot bonus in this matchup. So I really like playing like a Matthews Nylander 2-man.
Well, if you're going to do that, you might as well throw in Bertuzzi at 3,400.
No, because I want to do this because of the power play 1.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is that a lineup that contains a 10-2 and an $8,700 player, you're probably going to have to pay $3K for someone. And he at least is on line 2 with Nylander, so he correlates.
True.
So like if I'm only because you're going to have to play, like it's not this type of thing where if the pricing was different and you're not stuck playing some $3,400 guy, just that you're going to be stuck playing some $3,400 guy.
Oh yeah.
Why play someone? I mean, I'm just looking around. Why play Mangiapane on Calgary for 3,800 or Connor Zary or something like one of these guys when you could just play a guy that's at least correlated with Nylander?
Right. Yeah. No, I don't really mind that at all. I mean, Edmonton and Toronto are going to be so highly owned on this slate. It's going to be like, how creative can you get playing those respective teams and like mixing and matching ways of still hitting ceiling while playing those teams and trying to get different in other parts of your lineup.
From a value standpoint, we see here right now that if you wanted a 5-man, the best value on the slate is Nashville Power Play 1, right? Nashville Power Play 2 is the best value, not considering raw projection, which matters in NHL, right?
Right.
But we take a look here. I mean, Nyquist is 4,500, O'Reilly's 5,600, Forsberg 7,800. Josie has one of the highest defender projections that you'll see at 15.7. I mean, like
that's amazing projection. Yeah. Yep.
And then you could always throw in Colton Sissons at 3,600 if you need some. I mean, why? I mean, could you play all of them and just say, I'm going to bet on Nashville and just hope Toronto and Edmonton don't kill you?
I mean, you can. I wouldn't recommend it.
How do you play forwards? Like I'm looking at this. The problem that I always have with Nashville is that I feel as if Nashville's ceilings are very much tied to Forsberg, right? Like if Forsberg does well, everyone does well. If no one does well it's like one of these things. So at 7,800, like it's odd for me to play. If I was going to play 3 Nashville players, like playing Josie, Nyquist, and O'Reilly just seems kind of wrong. It's like, well, how did these 3 guys get there without Forsberg scoring like 3 goals or something like that? Like, so it makes me want to play Josie. It makes me want to play Forsberg, but $7K for a defender, $7,800 for a winger. Like, I don't have Austin Matthews or Connor McDavid in those lineups.
Right.
And it almost forces me onto Winnipeg, or it makes me want to play like Nugent Hopkins as a one-off or Tavares as a one-off or something like that. And then that scares me also because I'm taking players that are like tied to Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid's ceilings.
Yeah, how the field reacts to Nashville today is going to be interesting to me because we have the obvious choices of Yossi and Forsberg, but like you said, it takes you away from Toronto and Edmonton, and so you have to do it. I think some people might take the cheaper parts of Nashville, like say line 2 of Nashville or PP2 of Nashville, and then try to play the expensive parts of Edmonton and Toronto. Because you can do that. You can play Nashville PP2 and play, parts of Edmonton 1 or parts of Toronto 1.
Right, because that's a cheap. You could play like McDonough, Novak, Evangelista, like together. Like I would play that as a 3-man.
Right.
But I mean, just understand that their ice time is so much lower. Right, you're not. I mean, you're getting guys that are playing 13, 14 minutes.
The prices though reflect that.
But I mean, very low floor. That's a better way of putting it. I'm especially playing smaller field contests, like the smaller field stuff. I mean, I'm playing the 222 today. I'm playing the 88 today, and I'm playing 2 entries in the $40 contest. So like the 222 is like 100 man. The 88 is like 120 or so. The $40 one is like 500 or so. I'm not a big fan of the all or nothing type of. I'm going to take a guy at 3K that either gets me 0 or 10. So it's like I'm not a huge fan of the constructions with Nashville Power Play 2. I don't know. My natural inclination as a crazy player is to find a way to have a high median projection lineup that is correlated, that doesn't contain McDavid or Matthews. And then just my attitude is run me down. Like, because the thing is that on this slate, like if 3 minutes in, Matthews scores a goal, it's like he's 10-2. It's like I'm not really like I'm not unless he breaks. I mean, he's seriously he needs to break 30 fantasy points for me to even be concerned.
If you get a goal out of Austin Matthews, then he is busted completely. like you're not winning anything with a goal from Austin Matthews.
Well, I mean, even a goal and the 5-shot bonus, you're still not. I mean, I'm still fine.
Right.
He's sitting there with what 23 points.
Yeah, I think he would really need
20 and a half.
He would have to exceed like 25 for to start hurting you, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me,
I'm
more scared of McDavid. Truthfully, Tim, I'd be more scared of McDavid.
I am so scared about Edmonton today because Chicago doesn't have a team. So it's like, is it going to be the top?
Look at this top line. Look at these lines.
I know.
I mean, like, dude, I started playing NHL DFS this season, October, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So like, yeah, I know I'm not all that, well versed in the players, but I've gotten well versed enough in the players that I could probably name the top 2 lines of almost every team, at least to 95% accuracy without looking at this page. I'm going to the Chicago and I don't even recognize half the players. Like I don't like who are these guys? I know Reichel, I know Donato, I know Vlasic, I know some of these Korchinski. I mean, but some of these guys, I'd like. Who's Gutman?
They definitely that line 1 definitely does not belong as a line 1 in the in any team other than Chicago.
This is barely a third line for most of the other teams.
That's my feeling also. So they're gonna get run over by every single line by Edmonton. So it's really, if Radzic can't contain Edmonton's going to destroy Chicago. That doesn't mean that it's going to go ahead.
What do you say? How about it? Why not? Can we play 6 guys from Edmonton?
Yeah, like an onslaught stack. Yeah, like
anyone that gets power play time. Like you're playing like Ekholm. Like I'm not saying that you're playing all the expensive guys, but who said? I mean, you could fit in something like if we did it. Let's go. I'm gonna take a look. I haven't really looked into this. Like if they completely run them over, right? We go to Edmonton. Like I could fit in McDavid, Draisaitl, right? Nugent Hopkins.
Yeah.
Play Foegele, you play Ekholm, you do something like this, right? You probably can't afford Hyman, right?
Maybe let's look at a goalie real quick just to see.
Right, let's put in Ingram. He's like the value.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, against Boston, right? 38.67. I mean, you can.
You can do that.
You can. I mean, but even just this, I mean, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with Draisaitl in there. I mean, this means, they're not all correlated to each other, but I mean, it's like if the team just runs them over line by line.
Yeah.
Like who says? I mean,
I've won tournaments playing teams like that. Just like one team just destroying the other, not necessarily getting the full correlation.
Right.
But yeah, it's It's definitely
If you play
it.
McLeod, a cheap guy, right? Because you're playing like basically the second line, the first line,
Yep.
right? I mean, like
Yep.
you have 44 remaining for 2 spots. I mean, you could do something like. I mean, am I going to do this? Probably not. But I don't think it's crazy to just say I'm going to play
It's
I'm going to play
definitely
as
not
many
crazy.
Edmonton players as possible that DraftKings will allow me. But
Right.
you need to play 3 different skaters, right? 3 teams of 3 different skaters, though, right?
Right.
So the
Correct.
most you could play is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could play 6, right?
Yep. Yep.
Then you have to find 2 guys from 2 other teams, skater wise.
Correct. Yep.
But you don't think that's crazy?
Um,
You think that? I mean,
I don't think
you
that
could
I
do
don't
that.
think that's crazy at all. I don't think that's crazy at all. I mean, they're projected for 4.4 implied goals, which is tremendously big in hockey. Chicago's projected for like 2.4. So yeah, I mean, I don't really hate that at all.
Last team I wanted to talk about, we mentioned before, probably 4th on the list is Winnipeg. We go
Yeah,
to Winnipeg here against Columbus at home.
yeah.
These prices have come up though. Like Winnipeg was
They've cut.
kind of a team that I would take for value before, but I mean they still project okay. But like
Yeah,
to play like their power play 1 now, like it's going to be in the very similar situation with Nashville that you're going to kind of be locked out of like Matthews or McDavid.
yeah.
Like I'm a
You,
fan. I'm a fan of playing like I follow on the power play
yeah,
1 line because he's much cheaper, right? And then maybe playing Morrissey instead of like Velarde or something like only because I think that it's going to be very hard if people are jamming in Edmonton and Toronto expensive pieces. I think, and if they're going to either jam in that or play Yossi at defender, these other like expensive defenders, I mean, Morrissey,
see,
I mean, I don't know if
see
you play Hughes or something.
Winnipeg is like the pivot away from Nashville, in my opinion. So you have Morrissey instead of Yossi. You have Ehlers instead of Forsberg. You can get to Iafallo for pretty cheap. Velarde at 6K. This is a really great spot against Columbus. So to me, if you're trying to like lower kind of your Nashville exposure, this is the team to go to instead of Nashville. You got some really similar prices, and I think Ehlers is still way too cheap. So I think you could even play Ehlers as a one-off because I don't think his ownership is going to be way out of hand. So I think Ehlers as a one-off is a really strong play.
Are there any other teams? I mean, I think those as of right now. I mean, basically, I'm playing 4 lineups, and these are the guys that I'm playing. I mean, essentially, these are the best projected players.
Yeah.
Any other team, like especially teams.
Buffalo 1 is pretty cheap. They're playing at home. Seattle's not like the best matchup, but it's an okay one. So I think Buffalo 1 overall is a little bit too cheap. I did kind of want to look at Calgary's power play. Even though
I was going to mention Tim. I was going to mention my dummy lineup. I use Calgary as value.
Yeah.
Because
So the
I mean,
problem is that yeah.
You go.
The problem is that Calgary's power play is horrible. But Ottawa's penalty kill is also horrible. But Calgary is so cheap. That line 2 with like Zari, Kadri, even line 1 with Sharon Govich and Lindholm. That entire power play 1 is extremely cheap. Even that line 3 on PP2, that's a pretty strong line. Okay. So Ottawa bleeds goals on 5-on-5. It's just I don't have a lot of faith in Calgary, but they don't have to do a lot to pay off those prices. So that was a team I was looking at. I was kind of debating in my mind, do I want to bring that up? Because they're horrible at scoring. but they're also extremely cheap, and Ottawa's horrible defensively. So this could be a spot where they break out, and if they do, I mean, they're going to crush those price tags. So it's definitely an interesting decision to make as part of your GPP portfolio.
Well, Taylor later today will have the slate summary, which will kind of talk about a lot of situations that we have talked about on the show. Right, that's part of our premium package here at RotoGrinders, which you could get the combo premium. You get all the sports. Right, click on that link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. Join the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. That's free. It shouldn't be free, but it's free. Don't take advantage of it while it's still free. I don't know. I do not know why. But Tim, you will also have stuff in the expert survey as well. That comes out at what, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
2
o'clock in the afternoon.
2.
We'll always have updated projections here. You get obviously as part of the premium membership, you get the stack rankings. You get the prop model and the pick'em model, right? So if you're playing Prize Picks and Underdog, all of our projections get updated, and you get to see where the edges are on Prize Picks and Underdog, as well as on all the sports books. Typically, I'm betting over at DraftKings, right? So you could use the prop model top 20. You could use the pick'em tool. You could download CSV. We have the CSV of all the projections. Feel free to throw in Excel and bet on 100 things if you want, if they do show an edge. So you get all of that. Obviously, the props and pick'em package is a separate thing that you could just buy on its own. But if you're a combo premium member, you get everything. So if you want to take advantage of NHL today, 10-game slate, and there's NHL slates literally every day. So it's not
literally
every day. The bigger ones are like Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, right?
Saturdays.
Those are like the big days. But there's really a lot of days. There's a nice, 3, 4, 5-game slate. Sometimes it's only 2-game slates. So it's not like NFL where it's like, oh, you're pretty much one main slate a week or whatever. This is much closer to NBA or MLB than it is.
I was gonna say hockey's like baseball to me. It's very similar to baseball.
We just have to but on today's slate, it's like Dallas Keuchel is on the mound and Dallas Keuchel and Julio Teheran are on the mound.
Yeah,
and you have to choose between Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani or Mike Trout, and it's like, well, one of them is probably gonna hit 3 home runs off of this guy, and you probably can't play both of them together. So good luck to you, and hope you get the right one. So Tim, people can follow you at Tasteful Tides on Twitter. When you decide to take part in Twitter, you're mostly in the Discord, so people can find you there. They can tag you there, right? Yeah, tag you there in the Discord.
Yep. Tag me in the Discord, and definitely check out Discord. Be part of our Discord. It's a good Discord, right? I mean, it's
relatively good. I mean, sometimes we get some troublemakers in there. Sometimes
it's rare though. It's rare.
It's rare, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Be civil, and there's a lot of very good players in there. So you can discuss anything you want.
Of really, really sharp players in there.
But for the most part, I use the Discord for my news. So I don't have to. It's the only sport I do not have a Twitter list for, because you guys do such a good job in there. There's no point in me even looking on Twitter, because within 2 minutes of anything, here's the lines. Here's the morning skate info. Here's the goalkeeper. Right. Here's just everything. And also what Dane does is that he even tells you what's switched if you don't even realize. It's like, oh, here are the lines. And a lot of times it's like, oh, defensive pair 4 is now like one guy's on defensive pair 3. And it's like, okay, I don't have to change anything around. But then sometimes you get like lines in a blender. Everything's screwed up.
Yeah. Right. That could happen without notice either. So you have to pay attention. Yeah.
Okay. So hit that like button on your way out the door. Give me those thummy thumbs. You know how much I like those. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Kind of a light day today here at RotoGrinders, but we got some NBA action Grinders Live, Crunch Time. We got Swolecast tomorrow for the playoffs. Well, we'll be talking about NBA tomorrow. Kyle Murray is on. Wednesdays are the big NBA slate, so we'll be talking a little bit more about that. Tim, I think you're back on Thursday for NHL again.
Am I?
NHL and some NBA.
Right.
Maybe someone's. I don't know. They changed the schedule around on me. I don't know. But for the most part, until MLB starts up, I mean, we'll be talking about NHL primarily on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
I hope so. Let's do it.
And then Fridays, Squirrel Patrol will be on. We'll be talking about everything. So there'll be some NBA talk. There'll be some NFL playoff talk. Maybe some MMA. So it's
some PGA tonight. PGA tonight show. Yeah, show. Yeah, the drive for show.
Oh, okay. The show. Okay. But I mean, the PGA doesn't start till Thursday morning, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, Wednesday start of the tournament.
But the show is tonight, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got tons of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So click that like button. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Because I'm here for you, talking about all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy props and pick 'em on RotoGrinders today.